Hi, Loxolowski. We're looking at that gunbreaker build that I was talking about. Um, just kind of shuffled a few things around to make it work on, or at least try to make it work. Things may not go according to plan on this, but we'll give it a go. The so for the most part, I have breaker just stacked way to the roof here, uh, just for the extra strength. And then I have the Dark Knight mostly stacked for the extra strength. And then as a side effect, I do have some damage dealt stuff that I get because I'm near death. So some of these other effects will increase my damage just a little bit. And then I have the Dragoon uh, at least to 600% so that when I get some type of, we'll call it a lancet effect. It's not very strong, until all of the hunter stuff comes in. And then the hope is that it's enough MP to cover me for all the damage that I'm doing. And then I also have the Dragoon 400% just to get the extra attack speed, so that'll be nice. Um, on my gear itself, I have stacked up the damage dealt gun combo ability, the MP cost gun combo ability, strength, and then Odin on every single piece of gear to get more strength out of my breaker. Um, so that Odin percentage pulling out a lot of strength at this point. And then I try to get status ailment resistance across my gear and damage taken at max HP until the total of that ends up being at least minus 100%, whatever that comes out to be. Or just so I don't get silenced, poisoned, paralyzed, or petrified, or slowed. And then with the damage taken, that my Lightbringer, if when I do get hit, doesn't completely evaporate in a single hit, uh, unless there's trials on. And then I happen to have the Lionheart accessory, so I'm invincible during Lightbringer. And then at some point, I did acquire a badge to get Ifrit, so that every once in a while I might get that red flash that shows up. I'm probably going to miss it in the middle of combat. Uh, but if you really wanted, you might have Ifrit on one piece of gear there. And then I do have on my gun, I have aim so that I get a chance to do that aim ability without having to invest in marksman or any of that other stuff. Um, and then I have aiming on just my. It doesn't even matter what slot it's going to be on, as long as you start aiming and tearing them up. But a heads up if you are trying to do the world map, that your strength ideally should be like anywhere above 900 before all the damage dealt effects start stacking up. Even more if you're fighting against the likes of Crayclaw or Iron Giant that have pretty high defense. For my command abilities, for now, I'm using Mighty Strikes just to get even more uh, damage out of this, bypassing the enemy's physical resistance. And then I have Barrage, even if it's not like I'm sorry, barrage for the extra hit. Even if my agility isn't super high to actually get a good second hit, or even a third hit, that barrage is going to help out on the damage. And then I have teleport, and just to try to get away from the enemy while I'm aiming, because I can get pretty clumsy, and things may not go in my favor. Especially during enemy attacks, deplete buffs trials, or just when I need to get out of a grab, so or get away from a grab. So instead of the attack speed for now, I am using teleport. Um, Long term, lunatic would be better for more attack speed, but this is the way we're gonna try it on this route. And then on the hunter, we have a lot of crap going on here. So gunslinger would be nice if I could just uh, I get the 50 stacks. I don't have to worry about um, building the stacks. But we're going to try Machinist this round and see if we can get Machinist those 99 stacks up and see if we can maintain them throughout the fight. So on this second job, we do have the Lightbringer setup that lets us use Lightbringer repeatedly. In this case, Cyclic Warrior 600%. Every time you use a Lightbringer, you trigger the Soul Shield, and that Soul Shield is going to recover some MP and also build our max MP. And then we have the Void Knight 120% and 50% so that it increases your MP limit boost rate every time you soul shield, which, I'm sorry, when you soul shield, you get even more max MP back. And then the Void Knight 400%, it reduces the cost of your Lightbringer. You still need 200 MP or more if there's Dragon Trials, 200 MP to activate the ability, but it does cut the cost down quite a bit. And then on the Lightbringer spam side, we have Evoker 120% and 50%. Nothing in the description says it should interact with, it should impact our max MP, but with Cyclic Warrior 600%, your Soul Shields will trigger this effect and build max MP. And then, due to Dragon Trials, and also because we're using Hunter, we have Summoner 600%, so that it increases the potency of your Leviathan primary blessing, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then the Soul Shield, sorry, the Summoner 400%. Um, every successful Soul Shield recovers or refreshes your buffs a little bit. So our Hunter's Heart Shot or Analyze, that gets refreshed just a little bit so that we don't have to rebuild the stacks as often. And then that Leviathan blessing, having one piece of gear, even if it's 1% Leviathan, you recover some MP and even more max MP when you Soul Shield. And thanks to that Summoner 600%, whoops, Summoner 600, sorry, Summoner 600%, that the contribution from Leviathan is doubled. And then we'll look at our master points, but towards the bottom there, increase MP limit boost rate. Those are my category 4 master points just built up so that I don't, so that my soul shield recovers even or builds even more max MP. And then some other things that we have just for convenience. I happen to have the white mage 600%, just as a cross between I want to live. So I have the the whatchamacallit here. White mage 400%. So if I do get killed on the hunter job, I get to revive at least one time. And then but more importantly, I'm building up soul shield stacks that every time I soul shield, I get a soul shield stack that interacts with any uh, passives I have on my gear that increase when I do a soul shield. And let's say I build 20 stacks of soul shields on the hunter. When I transfer back over to the barbarian, I don't get the stats, that white mage stat of spirit. Instead, because I have 20 soul shield stacks, I get extra stats. Those 20 soul shield stacks interact with breaker 600%, so I get the extra 30 strength. It's not very much, but it's kind of just nice to have on top of everything else. So yeah, it's only a 30 strength with breaker 600% at 20 stacks, but that's how we could benefit from that, or at least that's why this one was here at the time. And then I have, just as an emergency, I have Hunter 400% from my master points on Hunter. So if I really need to, I can shoot the enemy with a regular gun attack and try to get some MP back to start a new, fresh cycle. Something else that you might see me do from time to time is I have the Summoner 120% and 50%. So when I chain cancel, pardon me, I build max MP. And then on top of that, I have the Gambler 120% and 50% so that when I do chain cancel, I recover a random amount of MP based on my luck. And then on top of that, I have, just as a side effect of this build, I had Samurai do 50%, so when I do chain cancel, which I won't be doing very often after the battle gets going, I get a damage boost for about 5 seconds. On our gear, we have improved effect Analyze and Carbuncle across the board. Ideally, I probably should have something else on this piece of gear, but I also have MP cost Analyze just because sometimes I don't want it to cost 200 MP at the end of the day. And then on the rest of my gear, I try to have improved effect Barrage Lightbringer duration, and buff duration. The improved effect analyze being probably the biggest thing for a physical build that's doing HP damage, and the barrage trying to get maybe more contribution out of barrage, and then the Lightbringer duration so that instead of like 20 seconds without trials, it might last as much as like 50 seconds until I start getting hit, then it drops. And then I also have enough status ailment resistance, or so I hope, oops, that I don't get completely destroyed by a silence or whatnot while I'm on my hunter job. I also have some MP cost barrage because command ability trials really hurt, and sometimes I just want things to cost less for my routine. And this is a little bit redundant, but I do have the Perpetual Leviathan's blessing because I haven't replaced out my boots yet. I just haven't, well, not on this save. I did lose some progress um, loading a backup save because things happened. um, let's look at our master points. We have strength, breaker job affinity to get even more strength. We'll come back to that agility. And then we're looking at during Lightbringer damage dealt because we're going to be in Lightbringer. And then we don't have anything else down below. And then we have agility to kind of help out with the barrage. And the leftovers were in the near death damage dealt. So not too much stuff going on here. And then I already forgot the other job. Oh, Hunter. Hunter, we have the luck because I like to use Gambler 120% to chain cancel. And we have the Hunter to get up to 400% as a backup plan in case crap really goes really bad. We have the Lightbringer duration so that our Lightbringer lasts a lot longer. And then we have, and probably the most important out of all of this, is increase MP limit boost rate so that our Lightbringers do last. I'm sorry, that our Soul Shields recover even more max MP to cover ourselves. And then we have buff duration so that we don't have to refresh analyze every 15 seconds. That from this alone, that might be 22 seconds. Or more if we have it stacked on our gear, which we do. And then just to help out with the Lightbringer spam, we have Soul Shield MP recovery so that as you start to get towards 500, 600 max MP, that when you Lightbringer from there, you actually have enough MP to start doing stuff with. And then sometimes I have Soul Burst MP recovery because Dragon Trials kind of hurt me. And then the part that I don't know if I actually covered in the Reddit post is the allies. They are stat sticks as long as they're alive. So Liberator 600%, giving me 12% of their stats, even though it doesn't show up on the UI. But as long as they're alive, they give me their stats. And how they stay alive is the Lionheart accessory, where it gives us invincible. We don't take any HP damage while we press the direction pad left or right, or on the keyboard, the letters R or T. Your allies get their version of Lightbringer, and as long as they have that Lightbringer uh, effect, or then whatever length of their Lightbringer duration, they cannot die. And so that is why we'll end up stacking Lightbringer duration. So at this point, they are very much would have been glass cannons without that. And the rest of their gear is stacking up the breaker for the excess strength because breaker 800% and beyond just starts pulling a lot of strength out of the job. And the samurai 800% and beyond pulls out a lot of strength and agility. And we picked Jed because he's going to get both strength and agility out of the samurai job. So samurai gets a good, a very high amount of strength and agility. Not as much as Breaker, but they're just one step behind. And then across the gear, they have strength and agility and Lightbringer duration. Ideally, I probably should have had Odin to pull out even more strength, but I went with Fenrir because they bring out a good amount of strength and also a great amount of agility, if not the most agility out of a blessing. The only reason why Sylph is here is I just didn't have a Fenrir headpiece for Jed. And yeah, and then the top two abilities were not really caring too much about them, although over time I did increase those so that they can help out with regular enemies. And then Sophia is going to be on Breaker because they are the job that gets the most strength. And I see that, well, I digress. Same job affinities for the most part, although for some reason I just went with Berserker for her, uh, and I couldn't fully tell you why. I think, yeah, in short, there's some modifications that I made that I lost, and I haven't bothered to redo them, and I don't know when I will. But Odin, strength, agility, Lightbringer duration on every single piece of gear, if we can. Okay, and then we have a rift up here. Um, a null void, I think at 505 is where I left off. Um, so this null void doesn't have too many trials that will really hurt us. So this might not be, super accurate. Uh, Now, in terms of monsters in the Rift, we have the Sahagin for strength and physical damage dealt, the Tonberry for strength, bonus if you have the Breaker or Dark Knight jobs affinity to get even more strength out of that. We have the Behemoth here for the combo ability stat bonus, because aim has strength and agility, but mostly the strength. And then the damage dealt to bosses, just trying to pull out even more damage. And then for now, we have the Goblin for agility, and we have the Wolf for agility. And we're going to, before we go into the Rift, drink a high ether. And just kind of for reference, the strength that we're working with here is far beyond what is expected. So we really only needed like 900 strength to have maybe a 2-minute battle with enough damage dealt going on. Um, and that amount of strength might result in something more ridiculous. But the routine that we're going to try to do here is we're going to try to do a Mighty Strikes, a Teleport, a Lightbringer. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze like 5,000 times. Pardon me. And if I were a proper YouTuber, I would edit all that out, but I'm just going to post this as is. And so, let's get back to this. Mighty Strikes, Teleport, Lightbringer, Barrage, Analyze, or Heart Shot, Chain Cancel, and then I'm going to try to aim with my Breaker. You can do that in any other order as long as you don't run out of MP. So you can practice on the world map just to double check on your MP, and also checking the command ability MP cost trials, because that can screw you over if you think you have enough MP and then you're rushing to find a high ether or ether or something like that. Um, but yeah, at some point in all of this, we're going to press the D-pad left and right so that our allies are invincible. Um, oh, I'm not on Hunter, am I? I meant to do that. So you might see me do this in a different order just because I panic. I messed up on one of these things. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna... let's do a chain shot. And we're refreshing our buff duration on the Hunter Analyze so that the remaining aims are even more powerful. I personally like, you know what, we're just going to face take this. So, okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. They really hate us. Well, that was embarrassing. But no, let's keep going. One part of me almost says we should swap out teleport with invisible, or even mighty strikes with invisible. Oh shoot. So yeah, do or die, you get to see me kind of flounder around with this. And you know what? Maybe, no. I was going to say we should try something else, but I don't want to give you the wrong impression that we should try to ever change abilities in the middle of combat. Whew, without that speed, it is just not. Yeah, things probably could be better. Um, and as much as I should back up, we shooted the Tiamat. Try to refresh your buff duration while you're waiting for something to spawn. And how much was that? Enemy attack deplete buffs? Yeah, pretty high. And just for giggles, let's see how much a Sunset skin. So that would still do max damage, and we don't have any damage dealt Sunset skin on here, and we're also using a gun, but a great sword or an axe would have been better. So just an example of how ridiculous the hunter analyze can get as your stacks get really up there. But maybe we'll make a little tweak here, and so we'll call this a revision, just to keep things a little less intense on us. Um, so we're going to try the gunslinger route instead, so that we start off with a good amount of stacks without having to build it up. And then we're going to try, instead of Mighty Strikes, even though that would be super helpful, we're going to go with Invisible. So the cross between they can't hit us, or they are not going to target us, and what's the word called? The hope is that we just don't get targeted, so that we can get a clean shot off. There's no boss. Oh, there's a boss. Hopefully this is not a mission. This feels like a mission. If this is a mission, we're going to end the video, and I will apologize. If it's the boss room, then we're going to try to do Invisible and Teleport, Lightbringer, Barrage, Analyze, Chain Cancel if we don't slip up, and try to go for an aim, and then D-pad left and right. Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to subjugate you. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. We are going to do this. So that you see how this might play out in a regular mission. So just like that. And we're going to run by enemies because I don't feel like dealing with them. as soon as I say that, I just start shooting everything in my path. I mostly said this because I didn't want to wait um, 20 seconds for this elevator to go up. But, you know, it's not that bad. And now we don't care as much about the refreshing our buffs because... I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We don't care as much about using Lightbringer to refresh our buffs because we just get a flat amount. I'm on the wrong ability. Let's see. Okay. And so, before we go in, Invisible, Teleport, Lightbringer, Barrage, Lightbringer, just because I'm running low on MP. And then the hope is that they don't look at us. Don't look at me! Um, they're looking at us. Invisible, and then now they're not looking at us. Oh, forgot to do D-pad left and right. Let's get Sophia up. And as much as we should run away from Dragon Zombie, we're going to probably just start aiming at its face. Because the more time you give it to do something, the worse off we are. So, roughly how this might go with the revision. We didn't get targeted after that first attack, and um, yeah, sorry, this video is a lot longer than I was hoping. So yeah, we might post a little snapshot version so that flash through the gear real quick, and then this will be the explanation if looking to kind of double check and cross check. But just also reiterating, strength is very important to make all this work, as well as the improved effect analyze, pushing it to this degrees of ridiculousness.